Hello friends, this is Wake Angel 2001 coming at you with a review of the Sonic Forms pack, which includes Supersonic, Sonic the Werehog, and Grind Shoes Sonic. And remember, I might slip and say Soap Shoes quite often because that's what I always refer to them as for like 20-something years. Okay, so this set dropped last week, completely unexpectedly. We all knew that we were going to be getting a Grind Shoes Sonic in the next regular wave, but then out of nowhere, this 3-pack drops with a completely unannounced, to my knowledge, Werehog figure, which is really cool. And I caught the flu, which kept me on my back for almost an entire week, unable to shop and hunt for it. By the time I was finally able to get out to the stores, I thought that it had completely sold out everywhere. But I went to the Target website, looked it up in the inventory, and I found exactly one Target that still had 2 of them left in stock. So on my way to work today, I made a quick interruption to the trip, went to that particular Target, picked up the item, left the other one on the shelf for hopefully for some deserving kid to get, and now I have it. The Sonic Forms pack. The back of the box is pretty simple. All it does is show the 3 figures on a single glamour shot, and it showcases that it is part of the Fang wave. So, yeah, that's just showing you the contemporary releases. So let's get these guys out of here and review the figures themselves. Alright, so here are the 3 figures out of the packaging, and I just realized that the Werehog is almost the exact same color as the coat that I'm using for a backdrop. Let's deal with this. Yeah, there we go. A little busy, but I think that works. Okay, so let us talk about these 3 figures. Okay, I'm about to say something that's probably gonna upset a lot of people, but I think we might be dealing with a little bit of mold degradation. Jakks Pacific, you might need to reconsider re-releasing Sonic every other wave, or if you are gonna continue doing that, you might have to completely remake the tooling of his mold, because, yeah, as you just saw, like, things don't hold up too good. Alright, so let's talk about these figures one at a time. We're going to start with the Supersonic figure because it seems to be the simplest one. This is pretty much a straight up re-release. It's the regular Soap Shoes Sonic. You know, he has the Supersonic head. Paint job looks great. I like his eyes. I like how they painted his mouth a little white so it looks a little bit like gritted teeth. And most of him seems to be okay. He has his arms work good. His legs are fine, solid knees, the ball joints in his ankles are good. Only problem is his head. Like, that neck is hecka loose. So loose that just from gently shaking it, gravity is enough to make it turn. Like, yeah, that's bad. That is a really, really loose neck joint. It is straight up a floppy neck, pretty much. So, I mean, I guess it's relatively easy to fix. Just thicken the neck peg a little bit. But, yeah, you got yourself a really loose neck joint there. So, yeah, like, this is a thing that's going to be really great, but, I know a lot of people wanted a Supersonic re-release because he's only been released like one other time and it's still expensive to find online. So I don't begrudge them for putting a Supersonic in this multi-pack. But yeah, like assuming that mine is a typical set in the QC issue, then you might have problems with loose neck joints on this one. But still, it's a relatively minor and relatively easy to fix problem. Hey, Future Angel here. After I finished recording the video, I fixed the issue with the heads. See, as you can see, they no longer flop around. And the fix was incredibly easy. All I did was take a little piece of masking tape, very little piece like this, and I popped the head off. It was really easy to do. Didn't even have to heat the figure. Put a little bit of masking tape around the mushroom peg, and then stuck it back on. The increased friction means that the heads now work properly, and because they don't flop, it actually makes the figures much easier to stand. Yeah, there we go. And it works on Soap Shoes Sonic too. So yeah, when the head isn't a floppy, spinny mess, who guesses? It makes the figure a lot easier to stand. You don't really think that the friction of the neck peg can actually affect the figure's ability to stand, but when your head accounts for 50% of your total mass, that's kind of how it works. Alright, now the big one, the Grind Shoes Sonic. The one who will be getting a single carded release in the next wave, as if I've understood how the releases are working. And this one does seem to have some subtle changes aside from the new shoes. Coming up close, we see that it is the smirking Sonic head sculpt. And yes, his head is every bit as loose as Supersonic's is. I don't know what happened here that the neck peg came out so loose, because that is very off-putting. But if you look, his left arm has a bent elbow, like a 90-degree bend to the elbow. Like, that's a bend as severe as, like, the first release of Knuckles. His legs seem to be more or less stable. They don't seem to be too wobbly, at least, but it can get a little bit hard to stand him. I think it's mostly because his head is so freely wobbly. Like, I try to set it down, but then it's bent the wrong way and his, he just kind of falls backwards. So, like, I can kind of get him to work, but, like, just subtle wobbling, it just overtakes him. So, I brought out my favorite Sonic figure. Of all the Sonics that I bought, like, whenever I find one that has better quality control issues, like, that one becomes my new default. That's part of my collection and stays up on my display. And Grimacy Sonic so far is my favorite one. He's the most solid stander with the best joints that I have in my entire series. So, you know what? I'm going to see what happens if I put these soap shoes on his ankles. Let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, that worked great. Yeah, he stands perfectly good now. Yeah, those issues I had with him standing were completely fixed just by putting the legs on the feet onto a figure that has somewhat better joints. Yeah, who would have thought of that? All right, so yeah. Now, the thing with the grind shoes, if you compare them to the original, like, I'm not sure how well this is going to come out on camera, but, like, they look, for want of a better term, dirtier. Like, their white parts are not quite as bright as the regular shoe. Like, it's not like they're gray, it's just that they look duller. I think, is that, like, an attempt to capture the gritty look of, like, the Dreamcast era, like going for a little bit of the grim and gritty tone. I do love how all the details are captured. I believe I said this before in my video about the leak. Like, they got all the details even on the bottoms of the shoes. That's really cool. So yeah, these are the iconic shoes, and this is the first proper action figure to actually have these shoes. If you think about it, there have been plushies, a Funko Pop, and Joyride Studios the Bendy. So pretty much every kind of figure has had these shoes except for a proper articulated action figure. So here we go, the very first one. Of course, whether you like the one that comes in this set or not is going to depend on the quality control issues of the figure itself, and whether you like the fact that that elbow has such a deep bend. Like, I think maybe they gave him a bend like this because the cover in Sonic Adventure 2 has him with a big deep bend like that. So, like, you can I don't know. Like, you were supposed to, like, do the thing where his arm is up like that, and, like, they wanted to do that look like he had with the grinding. I don't know, like, you know me, I don't like pre-assumed stances, so giving him such a heavy elbow bend, like, I don't want his arms to be stock straight like he's at attention, but you all know I always prefer a more subtle bend to the elbow because it lends itself to more poses if you're not gonna actually give him elbow joints. So yeah, like the fact that he has such a heavy bend to his elbow is actually a knock against him in my book. But yeah, like the sculpting of the shoes is really fantastic, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with the shoes themselves. If you have issues with the figure standing, it's probably just quality control with the joints, which is the most unfortunate part of this set. Now the big one, Sonic the Werehog. Werehog has not had a proper action figure that wasn't a knockoff since the Jazzwares days. So yes, let us celebrate the triumphant return of this off-maligned form. It looks really great. Getting up in there, like he has this open mouth with his sculpted in teeth and well-painted mouth and tongue, lips all there. The eyes look great, properly beady with that really deep scowl that the Werehog is known for. The white highlights on the ends of his spines, they're not merely painted in there. That is part of the sculpt. So, and he even has the fur texture. Like, it's not just for the movie figures. Like, remember, Werehog did have very floofy fur, so they actually did a very good job capturing that look in figure form as well. And even the details of his shoes, and like, look at that. His fingernails, the creases on his hands, and look, the cleats. The cleats make it a little bit more difficult to stand him because they don't. They can make it so that he's not really standing flat on his feet because he's standing on several spikes, but it does still work. His head is on a ball joint, so it can actually go down. So you can have him like looking down through his brow to make him look even angrier and more vicious. Or you can have it looking up so you can see his eyes a little bit better directly into the camera. And of course it can still rotate. It goes until his spines clash into his back, but you know, there's ways around it if you get creative. So yeah. Universal shoulders. This is one of the rare figures in the Sonic line where you're going to have a character that has both elbow and knee joints. Elbows get a full 90-degree bend, and there is a bicep swivel, and the bicep swivel is in the right place. He has a wrist joint. From what I can see, it's only a swivel, not a ball joint or anything like that, but you know, it works for all the purposes we need it for. Like, you can actually have him do the thing where his hands are up, and then you can like yeah, that's good looking right there. He has the universal hip joints, and the hips do go the right way. They go forward so he can kick and run. He has knee joints, and yes, the knee swivel is installed the right way too. And then he has like this huge ball-like joint in the ankle, which allows for ankle rocker and forward and backward tilt with the ankle. So you have all of the necessary joints to make this figure get into really cool stances. Yes, like they did not mess anything up here. Everything on the Werehog is epic and awesome, and it's as perfect as it should be. Once again, they completely knocked it out of the park, and this is just about the best version of the Werehog figure we could have gotten. And it has absolutely no QC issues. I didn't find any mold flash, none of the joints are too loose, none of the joints are too tight. But then again, it is a brand new mold that's being used for the first time, as opposed to one that's being used for the 10th time, like this floppy mess. So, yeah, take what I say as you will. Just it's a really great figure. I am now going to try and find another Sonic figure that I can put the regular shoes on, so that I can have both the Soap Shoe Sonic and a regular Sonic that are not floppy and plagued with quality control issues. But that's for future Angel to worry about. So that is the 3-pack. like one really good brand new release mold, two highly anticipated re-releases, one with a new accessory which is really awesome, but plagued by some QC issues. Relatively minor and I think fixable, but issues nonetheless. So temper your expectations when getting the set. But yeah, like, I'm pretty sure with a little bit of work, I might actually be able to get this figure up to full par. And this one, really, there's nothing wrong with it except for the neck joint. So, you know, like 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, absolute 10 out of 10. So that's my final ruling on these guys. This 3-pack is available in Target, and Sonic will be getting... Grind Shoe Sonic will be getting a single carded release later on, but I'm not sure about the Werehog. Part of me is afraid that Werehog is going to end up like Classic Tails from the Classic 3-pack, because that one came with Classic Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and Classic Knuckles would get a single carded release later on, but I've yet to see Classic Tails released as a single. So, it might be that the Werehog could be the multi-pack hostage the same way that Classic Tails was. Hopefully that's not the case. But, you know, that's something for us to worry about in the future. For now, this is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.